Today we have another unusual episode titled Let's Remember and Cry. On my desk lies a legend from 12 years ago, an integral amplifier from the past, the Canadian English NE356 by Bjorn Edward Eriksson. We will examine it, take it apart, and of course, at the end, we will listen to how it sounds. And not on regular speakers, but on the monster's KEF R11. It will be interesting to see if it can drive them or not. So like, subscribe, and don't forget that we are on Telegram, Zen, YouTube, and VK. So stay in touch. Nowadays, NET has become more niche, whereas in 2010 it was more or less a sales headliner. It's no surprise all models from the Lima 316 to the legendary Master Series represented by the full digital integral amplifier NET M2, which I had the chance to push to its limits. So, all NET products were trendy, well-known, sold at extremely attractive prices, and almost always performed better than their competitors. NET was also distinguished by its honest approach, which commands respect. Look, our hero has 80 watts of continuous power at 8 ohms, and this is stated everywhere. At the same time, it can exceed 200 watts of dynamic power, which is generally what is stated in the documents. Indeed, due to such moments, there may be confusion among uninformed customers. Some Yamaha or Pioneer receiver for a few bucks can deliver 150 watts, and that's across 7 channels. And our integral amplifier is twice as heavy, and in stereo, it only has 80 watts. So I have to explain to clients that not everything written should be believed. The thing is that the engineers at NET focus on the concept of effective power. Their creation is always ready to deliver a dynamic burst, significantly exceeding its nominal RMS power. The key to this story is a serious power supply that maintains significant reserve currents for quick release during high musical loads. This happens just when you elevate AC/DC from understock to peak. Volume. This concept was originally developed by Phil Marshall and was called Power Envelope, but subsequent marketers renamed it the well-known label Power Drive. That's where the idea that 80 is more than 200 came from. The golden era of the audio industry was the 70s and 80s. It was during this time that a wave of top brands formed beneath the surface of hungry audiophiles, and our NET Electronics, which stands for New Acoustic Dimension, is no exception. Founded in the capital of England, London, in 1972 by Dr. Martin Borish, an electrical engineer with a PhD in physics, and as is often the case, success came to the company. With a cool device, it was the 3020 in the late 1970s. By the way, it was later reimagined as a small black box, which, in my opinion, operated in Class D, but that's another story. Subsequently, Bjorn Edward Eriksson joined the company. This is the guy who is the reason for the entire abbreviation going into the integral amplifier, BEE. It used to make my heart skip a beat. The guys from England quickly realized that the Asians would soon conquer the markets and did not resist. NET became one of the first audio equipment manufacturers to outsource the production of their products to electronics factories in East Asia. In 1991, NET was acquired by the Danish company Audio North, and in 1999, it was sold to the Landbrook Group from Pickering, Ontario, Canada. That is why even many hardcore audiophiles get confused and think that NET is originally a Canadian brand, but that is not the case. Friends, don't forget that I create home theaters and stereo systems, and I also select cool components, so feel free to reach out to me. If you decide to set up sound for a restaurant, a cafe, or maybe even a gazebo, you know who to contact, and everything will be done perfectly. You have a Telegram channel, and on WhatsApp. Before we open it up and listen, let's take a look at the design. NET has always been quite conservative. Look at its facade. First of all, it's plastic, my friends. Secondly, the regulators are also plastic, and you can see that the product is not new. Someone even chewed on this balance adjustment. By the way, everything here is very simple. You see bass, treble, and balance. No more frills. And of course, there are quite a few source switching options. That's it, friends. There's nothing more here. Many will say that it's terrible, that it looks just like an ugly duckling. But I will tell you that I had a lot of NET equipment. I adored my 747 receiver. It was also quite ugly, very similar to this integral amplifier. But it warmed my soul and heart because it sounded simply amazing and outperformed all those Pioneer, Yamaha, and Sony models at that time, because NET, even in the receiver, produced a sound very similar to that of an integral amplifier. Let's see what we have the back. There are high-quality terminals here, and there are as many as 8 of them, a power connector without grounding, and of course there's this modest little button that I've always liked. Just look at how cool these terminals are. You want to touch them. They may not be from the high-end category, but they are solid hi-fi. Another very important nuance, friends, is that all the equipment from NET has the possibility of upgrades. Almost all NET devices had this feature where you could install, for example, a DAC or something else. I don't know, maybe in the future a Bluetooth module, but as far as I know, this device does not support it. It's also easy to expand its functionality. We also had these nice plugs, which I consider acceptable in quality. What exactly do we have inside? Yes, they used to make things well, like 10-15 years ago. Now they make things great, but just look at how powerful this triad transformer is. And this is what makes the sound so dynamic. With an iron grip that grabs your speakers by the throat. Note the branded capacitors. They are labeled NAD. This indicates that the company has the ability to order parts specifically tailored to their needs. They are 22,000 microfarads each, so we have a total of 44,000, which for such a device cost, as far as I remember, about 1,000, I think, 15, 18 years, 12 years ago. Not a lot of money, by the way. How much is that in bucks? In bucks, it's probably 600, right, friends? Write in the comments what you think about this pricing. The fiberglass is blue. I really like how it looks. It's a cool solution, much better than green. And 2 little combs with transistors, which are not that big. They are also located right on the heatsink, which, again, I wouldn't say is small, but it seems to be smaller than in our Premier A1. By the way, I am currently comparing it in my memory with a Russian development, and I realized that our guys did a great job. Yes, they created the device, of course, after 12 years, but it's just as good. Friends, it's even cheaper when you do the math. So there's no shame in supporting a Russian manufacturer, and there's no shame in NET Electronics either, friends. Well, let's wrap this up. And listen, especially for the enthusiasts. I'll show you everything like this. And pay attention to all the details of the old format NID. By the way, the feet are cool for their class. And notice the additional plate here. So, shall we listen?